I want you to imagine a pretty universal nightmare.
Oh boy, okay. Let's hear it.
So you're walking into a room, maybe it's a really high stakes meeting, or, just a new social setting you've been invited to.
Right, somewhere you really want to make a good impression.
Exactly. You walk in and you suddenly realize that everyone else in this room completely understands the rules. Like, they get the jokes, they speak the language, and, well, you don't.
That is genuinely terrifying.
It really is, because you have all the right credentials, your resume is flawless, you're dressed perfectly for what you thought this was, but none of it matters.
None of it.
Right, all of your usual tools are completely useless here, and everyone is just staring at you, waiting for you to catch on, and you are entirely paralyzed.
Yeah, it's a uniquely terrible feeling
Mhm.
because it's not just that you're, missing a piece of trivia.
Mm.
It's that your entire framework for reality just kind of drops out from under you.
Yes.
You don't even know how to begin understanding what is happening.
And to figure out why this feeling is so universal today, we are doing a deep dive into a really fascinating stack of sources.
We have some incredible material today.
We really do. We've got this massive 10-part thematic breakdown of Bob Dylan's 1965 track, Ballad of a Thin Man. Plus, there's a recent Washington Post essay exploring modern dread, and several fresh analyses looking back at that era through the lens of the film A Complete Unknown.
It's a great mix of sources.
And what these pieces argue is that this song isn't just, some dusty artifact of the 1960s. It is an absolute masterclass in a concept called epistemic defeat.
Which is such a great phrase.
It really is. And surprisingly, the sources show how it's the perfect mirror for the sheer paralyzing information overload we are all experiencing right now.
Yeah, the sources really hammer home that Ballad of a Thin Man is the ultimate blueprint for this type of psychological collapse.
Yeah.
And epistemic defeat really is the perfect academic term for it.
Wait, let me pause you right there. Epistemic defeat, episteme meaning knowledge, right?
Yep, exactly.
So it literally means your entire way of knowing things has been beaten. Like, it's not just losing an argument.
No, it's much worse than that.
It's losing the ability to even participate in the argument at all.
That is the perfect way to phrase it. Your whole toolkit for making sense of the world has just been rendered obsolete.
Wow.
And to really understand what that looks like in practice, we have to look at the primary target of the song. The infamous character Dylan calls Mr. Jones.
Ah, Mr. Jones.
Right. The entire song is anchored by this taunting refrain. Because something is happening here, but you don't know what it is, do you, Mr. Jones?
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because Mr. Jones is not, he's not some uneducated guy off the street who just wandered into the wrong bar, right?
Not at all.
The lyrics go out of their way to establish that he is highly educated. He's established.
That's your professional.
Exactly. He has institutional contacts. He talks to professors. He employs lawyers. He has this whole charity world respectability thing going on. He has read all the right books by all the right authors.
He possesses all the traditional markers of authority. And that is precisely the mismatch at the heart of the song.
Because he thinks that's enough.
Right. Mr. Jones expects those markers to work everywhere. He thinks his education and his social standing basically guarantee that he will understand any room he walks into.
But then he walks into Dylan's room.
Exactly. And when he enters this specific, highly hostile, incredibly symbolic environment, his traditional framework completely fails him.
It just shatters.
Yeah, his confusion isn't just a side effect of the song. His confusion is the entire subject of the song.
If you are listening to this and trying to picture what this looks like today, think about this. If you've ever, say, opened a new social media app and felt your blood pressure rise because you can't even figure out how to navigate the home screen.
Oh, I've been there.
Right. You have felt a microdose of what Mr. Jones is feeling.
That's a great way to put it.
But on a larger scale, it's like an old school executive, like a highly competent professional, accidentally wandering into a Gen Z meme culture convention.
Oh, man, that would be a disaster.
Total disaster.
Mm-hmm.
He tries to use his normal logic to win an argument on TikTok or something. He types out a perfectly reasoned 3-paragraph response.
And what does he get back?
The only reply he gets is a deep-fried, pixelated image of a cat.
Exactly.
His logic isn't just ignored. The very fact that he is trying to be logical is what makes him the butt of the joke. All that institutional confidence suddenly becomes a massive liability.
That analogy hits the nail on the head. And what's fascinating here is that it illustrates why the archetype of Mr. Jones works so much better than any real biographical target.
Because people have tried to figure out who he really is.
No, constantly. Over the years, Dylan gave all sorts of evasive comments about the song. Sometimes he'd hint to interviewers that Mr. Jones was a real person, maybe a specific journalist who annoyed him during a press conference.
Typical Dylan.
Right. But then later, he would backtrack and say, there are many Mr. Joneses in the world.
And music critics have spent, decades trying to play detective. They've scoured tour records and old interviews to figure out exactly which reporter or which folk critic Dylan was skewering.
Which completely misses the forest for the trees. Solving the identity of Mr. Jones actually ruins the point of the song.
Because it makes it too small.
Exactly. It shrinks the song down to this petty celebrity grievance. The archetype works because he represents establishment consciousness.
Oh, I like that term.
He's the confident observer who can describe the surface of things, but absolutely cannot process underlying cultural shifts. He's a placeholder for anyone who arrives with total confidence and discovers their interpretive toolkit is broken.
I struggle with this, though. Like, if Mr. Jones is so smart and
Yeah.
he's supposedly great at asking questions,
Right.
why can't he just figure out what is going on in this room? Like our executive at the meme convention, couldn't he eventually just ask someone, hey, what does the deep-fried cat mean?
You would think so.
But in the song, the world Jones enters weaponizes his own questions against him.
It does, and it does it by using a very specific kind of aggressive surrealism. The song confronts Mr. Jones with objects and figures that flat out refuse his ordinary explanatory habits.
They just don't make sense.
Right. The sources emphasize that this isn't just a puzzle waiting to be neatly solved. It is a system of symbolic overload and structured noncompliance.
We really need to look at this imagery because it is wild.
It really is.
You have a sword swallower, a geek, a one-eyed midget. Someone hands him a bone. Someone demands milk from him. He walks into a room like a camel.
Just a barrage of weirdness.
Let's look at one specific lyric. Dylan sings, and I'm not going to sing it, don't worry. But he says, you hand in your ticket and you go watch the geek, who immediately walks up to you when he hears you speak and says, how does it feel to be such a freak?
It's so jarring.
Right, because the geek is a sideshow performer, someone you literally pay to gawk at. But here, the geek flips the dynamic. The observer is suddenly the one being studied and judged.
It's a brilliant reversal. The song takes ordinary acts of inquiry, asking a question, reserving a spectacle, and makes them fail catastrophically. Mr. Jones asks what things mean, and the answers just disintegrate into taunts.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, and I want to push back a little.
Go for it.
If I am Mr. Jones and someone hands me a bone and demands milk, I'm not experiencing semantic instability or some grand philosophical defeat. I'm just annoyed.
Fair enough.
Right. Like, couldn't we argue Dylan is just throwing random, bizarre words together to sound deep? Why shouldn't we try to decode the camel or the one-eyed midget? Why is my confusion a failure?
Well, that reaction is the exact trap the song sets for the listener.
Oh, really?
Yes. The analytical sources we are looking at actually warn against this. They call it the decoder fantasy.
The decoder fantasy.
Yeah, there's this immense temptation, especially for smart analytical people, to over-interpret. You think every strange image has one precise hidden solution.
Like it's a math problem.
Exactly. You think, the camel represents the middle class, and the milk represents maternal dependency. But if you try to assign fixed, rational meanings to the one-eyed midget or the bone, you are acting exactly like Mr. Jones.
Oh, wow.
You're trying to force an inherently unstable world into a neat little box.
So by trying to decode it, I actually become the joke.
Precisely. The imagery works precisely because it creates semantic instability. The words refuse to settle into one clear, rational meaning. And the sources argue this is a profound critique of a certain kind of media consumption.
Okay, say more about that.
The song attacks what is termed extractive understanding.
Extractive understanding meaning gathering facts just to have them without letting them change you. Almost like mining for data.
That's exactly it.
Right.
It's the desire to collect facts while remaining entirely detached as an observer. Mr. Jones wants information. He treats strangeness as a problem to be processed, categorized, and filed away.
Right. He doesn't want to actually engage with it.
Exactly. He doesn't see it as a condition that might challenge his own assumptions about reality. But in this surreal room, his questions do not produce answers. They only trigger further mockery.
Which brings us to how the song delivers that mockery. Because it is not just the bizarre things Dylan is saying that trap Mr.
The
Jones.
sound is just as important.
It really is. It's the relentless, inescapable way he says them. The sonic and grammatical architecture of this track literally physically corners the listener.
It's brilliant construction.
Let's talk about the grammar first, specifically the use of the second person, the word you.
The formal choices here are devastating. The whole thing is entirely structured around direct address.
Normally in a pop song, you means the singer's lover, right? Like, I love you or you broke my
A
heart.
standard romantic trope, yeah.
But here, Dylan uses you as a spotlight. You walk into the room, you hand in your ticket. He is strapping the listener into the interrogation chair.
It's so aggressive.
It's incredibly uncomfortable because it's not a story about some guy named Jones over there. The grammar forces you, the person listening with headphones on, into the crosshairs of Dylan's accusatory vocal stance.
It really does. It turns the song into a real-time interrogation, and it creates this bizarre mix of intimacy and accusation.
Intimacy and accusation, yes.
It doesn't describe humiliation from a safe historical distance. It administers it to you in the present tense.
Oh, dear.
And the public exposure is a key element. You aren't just confused alone in your bedroom. The song makes you feel like you were confused in front of an audience of these bizarre, laughing circus figures.
And the sound of the track backs that up perfectly. The arrangement on the Highway 61 Revisited album is just as important as the lyrics.
Oh, absolutely.
You have Dylan playing this incredibly heavy, inevitable piano, and then Al Kooper playing this eerie, haunted organ.
The timbre of those instruments is crucial to the psychological effect. The piano gives the track this massive, inescapable weight.
It really plods along.
It doesn't sparkle at all. It advances on you. And that organ makes the whole environment feel ceremonial, almost spectral.
And the tempo. It avoids frantic speed completely. It's not some fast-paced rock song.
No, not at all.
The sources call it a deliberate processional rhythm, a bruising groove. It really does feel like it's slowly, methodically marching you toward the gallows.
That's a great description. The music creates what the breakdowns call theatrical space.
Like a stage play.
Exactly. Each verse operates almost like a set piece on a stage. A strange figure appears from the wings, an exchange happens, a humiliation lands on you, and then that minor key refrain returns.
Something is happening here, but you don't know what it is.
It returns like a harsh verdict from a judge. Oh! The music organizes the lyrics into these ritual episodes of exposure. It is highly stylized. The darkness is performed, and you are the unwilling star of the show.
But this sonic hostility, this elaborate lyrical trap, it didn't just drop out of a clear blue sky, right?
Oh, definitely not.
It was born in a very specific crucible, 1965. This was a moment of massive cultural rupture, and to really understand the song, we have to dive into what was happening to Dylan and the world at that exact moment.
Right, context is everything here. It's track 5 on Highway 61 Revisited. You cannot detach the song from Dylan's own transition during this period.
Because he used to be the acoustic guy.
Exactly. For the early part of his career, Dylan was the absolute darling of the folk music revival. He wrote acoustic, didactic message songs.
Songs with clear moral lessons about civil rights and social justice.
Yes, songs that made sense. Songs that people like Mr. Jones could listen to and say, ah, yes, I understand the political message here. I agree with the thesis.
It fit their framework.
Perfectly.
Yeah.
But in 1965, most famously at the Newport Folk Festival, Dylan plugs in an electric guitar.
The famous betrayal.
That's how they saw it.
Yeah.
He moves away from acoustic folk and shifts to electric, band-driven confrontational music. He completely abandons those straightforward moral lessons and moves toward these abrasive, charged, symbolic environments.
And the folk purists absolutely hated it.
They felt violently betrayed. They booed him. They called him a Judas.
Because they wanted clear answers, and he was refusing to provide them anymore. And that cultural break created a moment of intense boundary making between the emerging counterculture and the old conformity.
Boundary making is exactly what it was.
I think about it like modern gatekeeping in music or internet culture. You see this all the time today. In-groups use incredibly specific slang or hyper-niche references specifically to expose who doesn't belong.
Right, to weed out the outsiders.
They do not want to explain the joke to you. The power of the group comes from the fact that you do not get it.
That is so true. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the sociological term for this dynamic is asymmetry of access.
Meaning exists, but it is intentionally not equally available to everyone.
Precisely. And what's really striking about Ballad of a Thin Man, as these sources point out, is that it isn't celebrating a warm utopian counterculture. We tend to romanticize the 1960s as this era of peace and love.
Yeah, but this song has zero peace and love. It is mean.
It is incredibly mean. It exposes the sheer cruelty and elitism of subcultural distinction.
Because to understand the code was to belong.
Yes, but the way they protected that boundary was through relentless mockery. The new cultural scene generated its symbolic authority by humiliating those who lagged behind. The song captures a historical pattern. Periods of rapid cultural change often make previous markers of intelligence look strangely inadequate.
Which brings us to the absolute genius of this 1965 boundary making. It perfectly predicted the perpetual state of our modern world.
He really did.
Today, cultural and technological shifts happen so fast and so constantly that the Mr. Jones pattern is literally everywhere. So what does this all mean for you listening right now?
This is where the 2025 Washington Post essay really ties the room together.
Yeah, I loved this part.
The author argues that the song speaks directly to present-day dread. Earlier generations might have listened to the song and laughed at Mr. Jones. They viewed him as this foolish, out-of-touch square, and they identified with Dylan, the cool insider.
Sure, everyone wants to be the cool insider.
But today,
yeah,
listeners identify with Mr. Jones.
we are all Mr. Jones now.
We really are.
Think about the pressures of informational excess today. Think about AI rapidly changing the definition of reality. Deep fakes, climate disruption, the explosion of conspiracy culture, our total obsession with data.
It's overwhelming.
You wake up every morning and look at your phone, and it genuinely feels like someone is handing you a bone and demanding milk.
It really does.
Okay.
And the distinction the essay makes here is vital. It highlights the difference between information overload and interpretive stress.
Okay, break that down for us.
Information overload is just having too many emails in your inbox. It's a volume problem. Interpretive stress is when the reality around you seems incredibly meaningful, but you realize your systems for understanding it are fundamentally broken.
Because we have so many signals. We have infinite feeds, dashboards, metrics, endless 24-hour news cycles. We have all the facts in the palm of our hands.
But we don't know what they mean.
Exactly. We have massive institutional mistrust. We just don't have confidence in the frameworks used to interpret those signals anymore. The institutions that Mr. Jones relied on, the professors, the journalists, the establishment, they just don't hold the same weight today.
And that is why Ballad of a Thin Man remains such a crucial tool for modern media literacy. It's not that Bob Dylan had a crystal ball in 1965 and predicted artificial intelligence or the internet.
Right, he wasn't a psychic.
No, but he formalized the structure of bewilderment. In other words, he wrote the absolute blueprint for what it feels like to be aggressively out of the loop.
That's a great way to say it.
The song teaches us to recognize what it feels like when our old frameworks are failing us, when we're sensing upheaval without possessing interpretive control.
We are all just walking into a room, handing in our ticket, and realizing the language has permanently changed.
And if we keep demanding that the world explain itself in our outdated terms, if we keep demanding that extractive understanding where we just mine for simple facts, we're going to face the exact same derision Mr. Jones faced.
The world is just going to look at us and say, something is happening here, but you don't know what it is.
Exactly.
Okay, let's take a breath and recap this incredible journey we've been on.
We covered a lot of ground.
We really did. We started in this totally confusing, hostile room filled with surreal, unexplainable imagery, sword swallowers and geeks and people drinking milk.
A very weird room.
Very weird. We felt the physical trap of Dylan's second-person grammar, backed by those haunting processional organ chords of 1965. We explored how the acoustic betrayal at Newport created a cruel, gatekeeping counterculture.
And finally, we followed that feeling of epistemic defeat all the way to our modern, algorithm-driven reality, where every single one of us is just trying to figure out what is happening.
It represents a really profound shift in how we relate to art over time. We've moved from mocking the outsider in 1965 to realizing we are the outsider today.
It's a humbling realization.
And I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over, something that builds on everything we've just unpacked. Ballad of a Thin Man violently punishes Mr. Jones for constantly demanding literal, rational explanations from a world that only speaks in shifting, unstable symbols.
Right.
So look at your own life right now. In an era completely driven by opaque algorithms, fragmented realities, and a constant barrage of bizarre internet culture, are we setting ourselves up to the exact same humiliation by expecting the world to make logical sense?
That's a really tough question.
Maybe true survival today doesn't mean finding the right answers or decoding the hidden message. Maybe it means learning how to sit comfortably in the dark with the questions.
A terrifying but completely necessary thought for the modern age.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the sources. Remember to keep your ears open, keep your assumptions flexible, and we'll catch you next time.